Hello. I been sitting in the car here waiting, and I've been doing some thinking, and I thought to myself, the whole purpose of me starting this new venture is to share what I think. So if this comes out in a bit of a ramble, that's probably because it's coming straight into my head and straight out my mouth without a filter, which well, I don't know if I'm wise or not, but we'll see. Um, I was thinking about what an eating disorder is, and that's actually a massively umbrella term because are you going down the diagnostic route? Are you going down the physical route? Are you going down the mental, emotional route? From the point of view of voices. Now, it's very unspoken of. Lots of people with an eating disorder are reluctant to say there's a voice, or sometimes voices, in my head. It doesn't really always go down well. But there are. And the voices don't come and go. The voice is an eternal dialogue that plays over and over and over in your head and responds to every thought, responds to every pre-thought, every thought about a thought, every statement, every action, morning, noon, night, and every single second in between. An eating disorder is not a stroll through Vanity Fair. It's not a quest to become the next Kate Moss. If you see those sort of behaviours outwardly displayed within somebody, it is only a symptom or a signal pointing towards a much more complex problem. An eating disorder is a dictatorship. It's like this voice in your head who has an answer for everything. Don't do it that way. Do it that way. Why do it that way? If you do it that way, everyone's going to think this about you. It dictates what we eat, what we don't eat, what we do if we eat. It's the power to convince you that you're literally an ink splat on the world. It makes you believe that the wheels would operate more smoothly if you simply weren't there, which leads you on to feelings of shrinking away so you take up less invasive space in this world. It convinces you that life would operate better without you. It convinces you that if you could only get thinner, it would all be okay. There is the absence of logic. It's a bully. It's an inner bully. And because it's on the inside, the problem comes when the person, for example me, can't differentiate from what I think and what the voice is saying or telling me to think. So you must view it as a dialogue, because if you don't view it as a dialogue, you get caught in that trap of believing you're nothing without your eating disorder, and that is exactly what it wants you to believe. It wants you to believe that you are nothing in this world without it. You need it. You need to listen to it. You need to rely on it. You need its approval in everything. And it will dictate every aspect of your life. It will give you reasons that it argues to be plausible why nobody could ever love you. It will mock every single effort you make, denounce every triumph you may even creep towards. And if you do something that it undeniably, it cannot convince you that you didn't achieve, it will convince you that it was because you obeyed it in some silly, warped, disordered behaviour. And that if you hadn't have behaved in that disordered way or got to that certain weight, so on and so forth, you wouldn't have had that achievement. And if you wish to sustain that achievement, that you need to sustain obedience to the eating disorder. For the Christian, for example, this is a very difficult relationship, because you're listening to an outside voice which is contrary to what you're supposed to do. But the eating disorder will convince you that you're so far beyond God's grace, even though that's doctrinally completely wrong. It will convince you are so disgusting that even if God could extend his grace to you, how dare you allow him to? Allow him to, but you don't allow him to do anything. It is such a ping pong of thoughts and reason and absence of reason that it literally does defy logic. So the minute a family member or a friend comes and tries to logically understand your eating disorder, that's where it goes pear-shaped. There is no logic. Do not approach with logic. It can convince you that you can't live without it, as I was saying, that you would be nothing without it. I sensitively, and I hope you understand I'm using this analogy extremely sensitively. It is a little bit like being in an abusive relationship. People look on and they say, why is that person with them? Why can they not just leave? Your eating disorder almost grooms you to make you believe that you can't think without it, that you can't leave it. It is a friend. It is the minute you start to see it as a foe, then it begins to make you believe that you are unthankful and you lack gratitude. And the minute you step outside of the rules and regulations that it has set, that you are going to surely trip and the whole world is going to mock you and laugh at you. But really, the fact of the matter is, it's dishonest, it's demeaning, it's controlling, it's nitpicking, it's nagging, it picks morning, noon and night, as I said, and every second in between. It is the monster. Even now, as I say this, you may notice that I may be slightly elusive or sketchy or patchy, or I'm pretty much rambling, because the spaces in my speech do not correlate to the spaces in my head. I am literally now trying to have a dialogue here whilst trying not to listen to what it's telling me. But why'd you say that? Oh my word, you're going to look like such an idiot. Why are you even doing this, Talleen? Talleen, are you publicly trying to expose me? Are you, well, what's going on here? No one wants to hear this. You've nothing to say that anyone really wants to hear, and so on and so forth, and that is non-stop. It will say to me, don't hug your mum before you leave. Your mum doesn't want to hug you. Why would your mum want to hug you? Sure, look what you've put her through this last few years. Wise up. You need to stand up to the voices. And this is where the unprecedented importance of family and friends comes in. You cannot view the person with an eating disorder as their eating disorder. It is helpful for you possibly to say something, if they say something that's quite out there or not in keeping with what you know them to be. You say, Talleen, is this you or your eating disorder speaking? Because this doesn't really sound to me like the Talleen I know. Is it? Try to separate the two. Because if that person doesn't separate the two, then that feeds the belief that they are nothing without their eating disorder. You can highlight that there is another voice, and it is not the voice of the individual speaking, and that will allow that individual to challenge that person and to see that the world actually wants me, Talleen, without it, contrary to what it will make me believe. That I have something to offer outside of it, and that if I can separate myself from it, then I can begin to say no to it. Yes, I can do that, but I'm actually going to choose not to do what you tell me to do today. Okay? So in us as a society becoming more knowledgeable and aware of how an eating disorder functions, and that it's not just about calories, that's really just like a symptom of a bigger problem, then it can help us tackle it in a more productive way. I don't even know if I've said what I was thinking or what I wanted to say, but that gives us an idea into the voice of the eating disorder. He really is just a big pig. Speak soon.